The World Superbike Championship moves to Aragon and Spain for the first of two visits inside of a month. Welcome to Motorland Aragon as we begin the final 3 weekends of the year. It's round 10 of the season and it's a battle still between Toprak Razgatlioglu and Nicolo Bulliga. It's time for the 20-minute third practice session to get underway. Let's head downstairs and join our colleagues trackside for all of the action and say a very good afternoon to a personal friend of mine as well, Dave Goddard.
He's had all the way through the season, Cremona onwards, he's been so strong. The start of the season was a real difficulty. He couldn't get the most out of the BMW package. We went to Portimao and he really had to override the package to be able to win all three races there. But over the summer, they've really been able to hone in on what he needs from this bike, and that's where we've seen the consistency come in. And this weekend, he's just looked really strong. You could see there in the run down in towards turn one, heavy braking zone, and Toprak happy with the bike moving around underneath him as ever. He says that the electronics and the engine braking are all working a lot better now compared to the start of the season, and that's been the biggest difference.
Well, we know, as we've said, that this is a Ducati stronghold over the last 3 years. They've been dominant here in terms of race victories here at Motorland Aragon. Nicolo Bulliga at Ducati will know that this is really his final chance to pull back that gap on Toprak at the top of the points chart. He had a difficult weekend last time out at Manicourt. He looked frustrated all the way through that weekend, the Italian, and he knows this is his chance. He's got to take every point he can get from this weekend here at Aragon.
Yeah, for Bulliga in Magny, he was struggling a little bit to get the bike to turn. It felt a little bit heavier than he would have wanted. Here this weekend, he's struggling to get the bike into the corner. That last phase of braking is being his biggest issue.
He looks pretty pensive, it has to be said, down in the pit box once again, looking determined to try and get one over Toprak here and perhaps get the fastest time overall for the free practice sessions on combined times yesterday. Bulliga was marginally quicker, only by a few thousandths of a second in FP2, 0.35 of a second behind though on combined times from the two sessions yesterday. The battle for third is likely to be one of the highlights in the championship over these final 3 rounds of the season. Currently held by Danilo Petrucci on the Barney Ducati. The man closing him down is Andrea Locatelli on the factory Yamaha. He's looked in pretty good form so far this weekend as well. 4th quickest over the combined 2 sessions yesterday. We know he's locked in for 2026 with Yamaha as well, and all the signs he could challenge for 3rd in the championship. Danilo Petrucci looks like he's going to lead the machines out for this 20 minutes free practice 3 session. Petrucci currently holding that 3rd place in the points ahead of Locatelli, with Alvaro Bautista just half a dozen points back on his rival on the Yamaha. Bautista, of course, taking Petrucci's place next season on the Barney Ducati. Michael van der Mark ready to go on the BMW. A spill in free practice yesterday at the end of free practice 1, but it certainly doesn't seem to have hindered the Dutchman, who was 6th fastest on combined times.
Yeah, it's going to be important for van der Mark to have a good qualifying session in Superpole in around about 2 hours' time. But yesterday, FP1 looked like the bike was a bit of a handful, and then the afternoon he was able to get himself up into the top 6 on the combined time, so showed a lot of potential for him on that bike as well. We saw obviously last time out in Magny-Cours, probably one of his better weekends this season.
Yes, he had a few handling issues in free practice 1, the team were telling me, which culminated in that spill right at the very end of the session. As Alvaro Bautista leaves the pit box, he'll be desperate to put on a show for his home fans here in his final season on the factory Ducati. We see one of the independent Ducatis there. That's the Go 11 machine of Andrea Iannone. Is struggling to set up over the last couple of rounds, but starting to improve this weekend. Was in the top 10 yesterday, but still no news at the moment confirmed. One of a number of seats still to be confirmed. The independent teams, of course, tend to leave it a bit later to confirm who's going where. And speaking to team manager Dennis Sacchetti yesterday, nothing confirmed as yet for Team Go 11, but quite a few names have been linked with that seat.
Yeah, a couple of weeks and we'll be underway for winter testing as well, so you want to get those seats filled as soon as possible. Javi Vierge, that we ride on board with, had been linked with that seat. That's gone a bit quiet. Vierge won't be on the Honda next year. We're still waiting for Honda to confirm their lineup, but you'd expect that to be done this week, you'd imagine, on the basis of what you're hearing around the paddock. And Jake Dixon, he's going to be on one of those bikes. Looks like it's going to be Tomcat Chanter as well, so a decent lineup for Honda next year.
Yes, indeed. And Xavi Vierge, of course, being linked this week with a possible factory Yamaha seat as well. Could be one of the favourites there.
Yeah, certainly looks like that will be the case for him, and it's a good hire from them to be able to give him that option as well, because for Xavi, he's been able to show, big slide there for Bassani, he's been able to show that he's a solid, consistent runner in the Superbike class.
Zaxo Bassani, just hearing, will be penalised to the back of the grid in race 1 this afternoon for not respecting yellow flags in FP2. It's been a fairly quiet weekend for the two BIM Motors so far. Bassani 10th at 1 place ahead of Alex Lowe's yesterday, and Lowe's will be a little bit disappointed possibly so far after his form with 3 podiums at Manicure, a trio of 3rd places last time out in the French round, but BIM Motor, a quiet weekend so far.
Yeah, I think for Lowe's, obviously he'll know that this is going to be a tougher weekend than last time out in Magny, but the reason he's down in 11th on the combined times was he had a crash on his fastest lap yesterday at the end of the session, and we catch up with the 22 now. He crashed into the next right-hander at the end of yesterday's session. He'd been on course for his personal best up to that point, so we didn't really get to see something representative from Lowe's. He's probably in that 6th, 7th, 8th position overall.
Chasing his brother Sam here on the Mark VDS Ducati. Now, he's had a strong weekend so far, but he started off so strong at Manicure as well, but a weekend that eventually amounted to virtually nothing due to a number of spills, sadly, for Sam, so he will be desperate to make up for that disappointing showing in France here.
Yeah, and Magny was one of those tracks again where we saw the speed from those, but this is a track where we've seen him have so many strong results in his Moto2 career. He'll come here with a lot of confidence and being able to build on that, but I think that once again, coming into this weekend from Friday onwards, he's been able to show he's got that speed and got that consistency.
This is Jonathan Ray on the factory Yamaha, of course, winding down his final season in World SBK before his retirement at the end of the season. Certainly going to be a party atmosphere at the final round in Jerez, I am sure, as the greatest of all time calls time on his immense career, it has to be said, in the World Superbike Championship. 6 times a champion, following his teammates Locatelli there. Just one change to the regular lineup this weekend, with British Superbike star Tommy Bridewell coming in to replace the injured Ike Lecuona, still recovering from those arm injuries he suffered in Hungary. Ike Lecuona, we're told, is here this weekend supporting the team from off-track. We have got a spill at turn 6. Jari Montella, we're being told, has come down, the second of the Barney Ducatis. He had some problems with an oil leak in FP1 yesterday, which restricted his running during the morning, and he has now come down. That's at turn 6, so a yellow flag there, climbing up towards the top of the circuit.
Yeah, turn 6 is that right-hand kink before you get on the brakes into turn 7. So usually you tend to see where you tuck the front through there, but we'll see what happened for Montella. But given that he had the issues yesterday morning as well, he's down a lot of track time so far this weekend, and for Jari and for the Barney team, they'll have a bit of work to do now. He only managed to get in 20 laps in yesterday afternoon session, so he was busy in the afternoon, but lost a lot of running at the start of yesterday.
With the Barney Ducati team looking all set to wrap up the Independent Teams Championship. Petrucci going for the independent top independent rider as well. Been a disappointing weekend so far for his teammates, as Xavi Vierge chasing Remy Gardner. Vierge, fairly strong running yesterday, 4th place in FP1 yesterday, ended up 8th place overall on the Honda. A yellow flag now, and that's Bautista down. Alvaro Bautista has come down. That's at turn 9, up at the corkscrew section of the circuit, but able to remount and get going again. Yeah,
and that'll be where you just lose the front through the bottom of the corner here, and you'll just see the front's just going to tuck from underneath him, and the typical crash that you get down there at turn 9. But for Alvaro, he was strong yesterday. He was inside the top 5 on the combined times. We know he's going to be good around this place, but we've also seen it time and again where he can have these lapses and these crashes. So he needs to get ready for the Super Pole session. Needs to qualify on the 2nd or 3rd row of the grid.
Yes, needs to keep up in that battle for 3rd in the championship we mentioned earlier with Petrucci and Locatelli. He's back going in. He'll have to bring the bike back into the pits to be checked over. Time starting to come in.
It's interesting just looking at the times as well. Toprak and Bulaga are out on track together. Toprak really strong in the first sector and then sat up a little bit through the rest of it. You can see that they're just coming up towards the end of the first sector now. But for Razgadioglu last time around, he didn't want to have Bulaga behind him. It looked like just looking at the timing screens, and Bulaga didn't take the opportunity to go past him either. So Bulaga wants to be able to use this as an opportunity to learn where Toprak's strong.
Learn where the BMW is strong, and also perhaps use the slipstream later on in the session. But times not that important. It's more a warm-up session. FP3 ahead of the Tissot Super Pole session a little bit later on. Bulaga is quickest on times at the moment, ahead of Sam Lowes with Petrucci in third place. But times are not the most relevant thing in FP3. It's all about getting the bike dialed in, ready for the Super Pole session, which comes over at about 11 a.m.
We haven't had anyone go faster than their times yesterday, but Alex Lowes looks like on this lap he'll be the first rider that goes quicker than his time from yesterday's session. Just seeing as well, Van der Mark back in the pits. He went out, did an installation lap, and he came back in, so we'll wait and see when Mikey gets back out there as well.
Yeah, the quickest times yesterday were in the mid to high at 1:48. Toprak did at 1:48.385, so that was the quickest time from yesterday. Incidentally, Toprak was one of the only riders not to improve in FP2. The BMWs took it easy in the session yesterday afternoon. They did the most of the work in FP1. Only one other rider, Garrett Gerloff on the Kawasaki, did not improve his time in FP2. So coming up towards half distance in this session then, as across the line go Razgat Lioglu and Bulaga. They improved their times, with Bulaga marginally the quickest, in fact quickest by just over half a second there ahead of Razgat Lioglu. It was one each yesterday in the two sessions at the top of the times, and Bulaga goes quickest once again. Alex Lowes with that lap of 1:49.198 is third fastest. Jonathan Ray fourth, and Sam Lowes goes down to fifth position. And the only rider who has not yet set a lap time is Michael van der Mark. He did an outlap, but then came back in again, so possibly still suffering one or two issues. We know he was struggling with the handling of the BMW from yesterday, so maybe issues there once again. So Bassani down the back straight. The motors looking to improve. Well, Alex Lowes has certainly improved, looking to get back into podium form once again as he tries to close up towards those leading five in the points. Likely to figure in the battle for third place in the championship so far. Razgat Lioglu marginally quicker again through the first two sectors that time around. This is Andrea Iannone across the line. He goes fourth quickest. We know the Ducatis, including the independent teams, are certainly quick around this circuit. We've seen that over quite a few seasons now. The last 3 years, Ducati have been so dominant here, as we've already mentioned. Locatelli moves up to P6 on the Yamaha. Yamaha were looking perhaps to announce their replacement for the retiring Jonathan Ray over the next couple of weeks. We know that one rider was rumoured was Chalon Chu, but it's now looking likely that the Turkish rider is staying in World Supersport for next season. Xavi Vierke has been rumoured amongst one or two more names, so we should be getting a decision from both Yamaha and an announcement from Honda in the next couple of weeks.
Yeah, and obviously with BMW also for Toprak's team, for Petrucci's teammate, Petrucci coming in to replace Toprak, and Van der Mark on the way out as well. It looks to be Miguel Oliveira, so strong lineup there. And it's interesting we get to this stage of the year, so close to the end of the year, before three of those factory seats get filled, and it's been a long time since we've had that sort of uncertainty.
Yes, indeed. BMW looking likely to announce Miguel Oliveira, but you would imagine they'll wait until closer to the Portuguese round at Estoril if they are going to do so.
Well, they haven't made the decision yet and made the announcement yet. I think they were expecting to be able to announce it already at this stage, as Toprak just runs through at turn 9 there with a little bit of a mistake. But for BMW, they hoped to be able to make that announcement already, and it's been held up ever so slightly, but they feel pretty comfortable and confident that it shouldn't be anything untoward.
It's looking at a pretty strong lineup. Daniele Petrucci joined by Miguel Oliveira, if that is definitely going to be the case ahead of next season. See that mistake again there from Toprak, just running a little bit wide through the corkscrew section at turns 8 and 9 up at the top of this very undulating circuit that also rewards slipstreaming as well, with the very long back straight down into the left-handers at turn 16 and 17. See that in all of our classes here this weekend.
A bit of frustration there for Bulaga as well, because Toprak's made that mistake and then comes back onto the track in front of him, and there is a little runoff area there if you do make a mistake, but obviously the layout of the track also lends itself where that can be an issue. But for Bulaga, He'll now have to do a few laps with Toprak trailing behind him.
Bulliger's still the quickest at the moment. He felt he could have gone even quicker there if Toprak hadn't made that mistake and just slightly impeded him.
Well, the lap time was already gone. He was already a quarter of a second down in the first sector, but it's just that moment of frustration that comes whenever Toprak comes back in front of him. But this is also what Toprak would have wanted. He wanted to get the chance to see what Bulliger's like out there on track.
Yes, they've been very evenly matched throughout the practice sessions so far. This time Toprak taking a good look at the Ducati.
We've got a few riders out there just doing a time attack now at the end of this session. Sam Lowe's up by a tenth of a second in the first sector, and typically in free practice 3 you wait and see who's been using their tyres in free practice 1 and 2, because some riders will save an extra tyre just to try and give themselves that chance to do one more fast lap at the end of the session, just to use it as a little bit of a trial run for the Super Bowl session.
Tyres quite important this weekend, as Pirelli have not brought a qualifying tyre to Motorland Aragon this year, using a selection of fairly hard compound tyre setups, so the riders taking time to get used to those.
Yeah, same as what we've had here in the past, with the zero tyre being the standard race tyre really, and the X tyre being the qualifying tyre. So a tyre everyone knows and understands well, but just around this track does place quite a demand on the tyres. It was interesting speaking to some of the riders yesterday. They spoke a lot about the front tyre being the limiting factor rather than the rear.
Sam Lowe's still up by a few hundredths of a second in sectors 2 and 3. Petrucci improving a little further down the order as well, with a personal best in sector 1. As I said earlier, time's not the most important thing in this session. Sam Lowe's goes second behind Bulliger.
No surprise to see Lowe's losing that time in the final sector. He was down by a quarter of a second yesterday compared to the factory Ducatis, and one of those issues that seems to be rearing its head for quite a lot of those independent bikes right now, where they're just struggling ever so slightly on the punch out of turn 15 compared to the factory Ducatis.
So Bulliger still the quickest at the moment. Sam Lowe's slopped in second, Razgat Lioglu in third, then Alex Lowe's and Andrea Iannone rounding out the first 5 in the times, but still not quite on the pace that Razgat Lioglu set yesterday. Bulliger just over a tenth of a second off that pace, as Lowe's again is up by a tenth of a second in sector 1, coming down the corkscrew on the Mark VDS Ducati. Only a few thousandths of a second down in sector 1 as well.
It's going to be worth keeping an eye on Lowe's during the Super Pole session. Obviously a pole setter earlier in the year in Assen. He's been on the front row the last couple of weeks as well, so he'll be expecting here at a track where he's had so much success in the past that he'll be able to challenge for that front row once again, and maybe even the pole.
Alvaro Bautista back out on track. He'll be frustrated to have lost a bit of running there with that spill earlier on. To improve into the top 10 at the very least here, as Lowe's and Bulliger go quicker again in the first couple of sectors. Looks of Garrett Gerloff there on the Kawasaki. He's had some strong results here in his days on the BMW machine. He really does like this circuit. See Toprak still pursuing Nicolo Bulliger. Just getting a look at how the Ducati is performing around the Motorland Aragon circuit. Let's see if Sam Lowe's can go quickest in the times. Razgat Lioglu's up in split 3 as well. Sam Lowe's across the line. He does go quickest, 1:48.486, so still not quite as quick as the pace we saw yesterday. The lower track temperature will be contributing to that. Goka Segura, his crew chief, looking on. Bulliger goes second. No, Razgat Lioglu lost time in the final sector again there and remains third. Petrucci is now up into P4 in the times as well. Very evenly matched here, with less than a second covering the first 11 riders with just under 4 minutes to go.
Yeah, in yesterday's session, on the run from turn 15 to halfway down the back straight, Toprak was losing about a tenth of a second to Bulliger and Alvaro Bautista, and then the run through the last couple of corners, losing out a little bit of time through there as well. So that final sector just playing into the strengths of the Ducati.
Ray has improved as well up into P5 ahead of his Yamaha teammate Locatelli. We've only seen Locatelli complete a few laps in this session so far. Stanley Petrucci looks to improve and try and move into the top 3, keeping his challenge for podiums alive as he fights for P3 in the championship this year. He does go third quickest, 1:48.61.
For Toprak, it's interesting, he's the only rider that hasn't improved on his time from yesterday in those leading 8 positions. Himself and Bautista, the only riders inside the top 10. We saw that crash for Bautista, but for Razgat Lioglu, that's still his time from yesterday morning, and really impressive that it's still standing the test.
He's been quickest of all so far this weekend. Everybody else, we say, has improved. Sam Lowe's looking to go even quicker again, nearly 0.2 of a second up in Sector 3 of the Mark BDS Ducati, absolutely flying in this morning session. This could fire a warning shot to his rivals ahead of Superpole later on. Will he go even quicker again? Across the line, 1:48.351. He does so the quickest time from yesterday finally falls.
And that was Toprak's second flying lap yesterday, and it's taken until now for someone to topple it, so it does show just how impressive it was for Toprak.
Sliding the machine around there, so was Bulliger as they go into turn number 1. So even in free practice, the riders looking as spectacular as they can as the track slowly but surely begins to warm up.
Javi Vierge at the end of each practice session has been able to put in a lap time that's put him up the order, and the Honda's working well around this track for Vierge, and he's up there inside the top 5 right now. His goal has to be try and qualify in the front 3 rows of the grid and see what happens in race 1 this afternoon. But a couple of good laps put in there by the Yamaha riders. Aguilar moves up to 4th, Locatelli 5th, and Jonathan Ray up into the top 10 as well in 8th position.
The Yamahas at the time attack runs at the end of this session. You can see that Andrea Locatelli is really on it there on the 55. We've not seen too much of Dominic Egerter so far this weekend. The Swiss rider does go P4 with a 1:48.584. So now the session-ending time attack run starting to play.
Yeah, and Ian One is the rider we probably need to keep an eye on as well. Ian One on the number 29 Ducati up at the halfway stage of the lap. You can see the timing tower on the left-hand side of the screen, just how strong his speed is. It's faster than anything we've seen from anyone else.
Yes, keep an eye on the yellow machine then, the Go 11 Ducati. Here he comes down the back straight behind Sam Lowe's. We know that Ian One had a win here last season, his only win of his comeback season to international racing. First season in World Superbike, his first win in World Superbike. Is he going to go quickest here at the end of the session? Less than a minute left on the clock. Ian One over the line. He does go quickest, 1:48.023, and the Go 11 team certainly very happy indeed with that. So we've got Ducatis now 1, 2 and 3. It's independent machines first and second. Bulliger on the factory machine first.
It's a great final sector for me and One there as well. The 25.4 is a lot faster than anything we've seen from anyone else. So that's a great effort there from Andrea.
Trying to slightly slipstream Sam Lowe's there. Didn't quite get close enough for that, I don't think. Let's see what Locatelli can do. I don't think he's going to improve on this final lap. Asghar Dioglu is now down into P4. Not sure we'll see any improvement from the BMW because the checkered flag is about to go out on this free practice 3. Anybody else looking to improve? Possibly Axel Bassani could move into the top 10 on the motor. His teammate Alex Lowe's down in P13 at the moment. I don't think we'll see much in the way of improvements other than that because the checkered flag is now out. We'll wait to see if anybody does get one last flying lap in. Bassani does improve to P9.
Just for Asghar Dioglu, the only rider inside the top 10 that didn't improve his time. Still out there, 48.5 for him. He's done 10 laps, 9 laps. This will be his 10th lap that he finishes off the session with. So he's been able to put in a Superpole race length stint, and it'll be interesting to see what tyre options he ended up actually going for that. If Toprak's gone for the softer option, just to be able to get that information. But we'll wait and see how that will fare for him. But it just comes down to the allocation that the riders have and how teams want to use those strategies as well.
Van der Mark, Toprak's teammate, did get back out there. He's in P12 at the end of this session, just waiting for the final few runners to take the checkered flag. Bulliger getting a toe there off Garrett Gerloff down the back straight. We see the factory Ducati improve here. Doesn't look like it, though, still in P3, 0.6 of a second off the pace on his final lap. Asghar Dioglu has backed off, took the P4 for the BMW man. Across the line they come. So Ducati clean sweep in FP3, then Ian One, Sam Lowe's and Nicolo Bulliger. Will certainly give us an idea of possible order come Tissot Superpole a little bit later on. Good to see the Yamahas improving as well, with Egerter and Locatelli up there in P5 and 6. The rest of the Hondas, Xavi Vierge in 8th place. Tommy Bridwell down here for the time sheets, moving up to replace Angelica Lecuona this weekend. Lecuona, of course, taking over Bautista's place at Ducati next season with practice to moving to the Barney Ducati team. Excellent performance there from both Sam Lowes and from Andrea Iannone, particularly through the final sector. The Ducatis working very well indeed in that FP3 session. Ray up there in the top 10 as well, so 3 of the Yamahas in there, and Remy Gardner just outside as well. Team Go 11 certainly very happy indeed with the progress of Andrea Iannone. He was struggling for setup throughout the previous round in France at Manicourt, and he was very frustrated, very disappointed indeed at the end. That's a big boost to his confidence.
Yeah, back at a track though that suits his style as well. The wide open nature of Aragon, it's all about being smooth and flowing from one corner to the next, and proper Grand Prix riders circuit. And for Iannone, these are the types of tracks that really suit him.
Certainly showed it there. Just 1 or 2 riders out there doing practice starts at the end of this FP3. They're going to be back in the pit boxes to get ready for the Tissot Super Pole session as the track continues to heat up here. The engine will continue to heat up as well. We'll take a look at the times from free practice. Andrea Iannone quickest 1:48.023, 0.3 of a second quicker than the pace we saw yesterday. Lowes and Bullinger making it a Ducati 1-2-3 with Razgat Lioglu in 4th place. Best of the Yamahas being Dominic Egerter in 5th, best of the Hondas, Xavi Vierge in 8th, and Bassani top of the Motors in 9th.
Session complete. Andrea Iannone is the fastest. We'll be back for qualifying live here on JB Motorsports 2 coming up soon for all of the action. Don't go anywhere. We'll see you soon. Take care. Bye-bye.